Welcome to another episode of Full Retard. Today we have more entitled parent stories. First up by Miss Shane. Sort-of-Stepdad tried to take over the household. I didn't know where else to post this story. I hope I'm not breaking rules, as the entitled parent was never my actual stepdad, but he was a parent to a daughter of his own. So as a backstory to defend my mom's hasty decisions with the douchebag, my mother has not had very good luck with men. When she was young, she was engaged to a man who turned out to be both physically and emotionally abusive. Then my dad left her in a pretty nasty way when me and my sister were both still under 3. They have since reconciled for our sake, and he has tried to make up for leaving by being as good as a dad as possible and taking care of us whenever she needs him to, but there was simply no way they could ever get back together. After getting over the heartbreak that was my dad, she dated a slightly younger guy for quite a while, but he then decided he wanted kids of his own, and my mom ultimately decided she didn't want any more children. She then went through a few short-lived relationships until she sort of came to a conclusion that she was better off alone, and so there we were not introduced to any new man for quite a while. Enter the douchebag. By now, I was 18 and my sister was 16. At first, the guy seemed nice enough, if not a little too eager to get on our good side. He gave me quite a bit of money for my 18th birthday. He would buy us treats and cooked quite often. Then all of a sudden, way too early, he moved in officially. Now we lived in a 2-bedroom place, as my mom had long ago decided she'd rather me and my sister have our own rooms and she could sleep in the living room. He tried to argue about this by pointing out I was moving to America anyway. Yeah, but not for another 5 months. So I should move to the living room since he and Mom were paying rent. He didn't, as far as I know. I argued back, and I still had senior year to finish, which meant a lot of homework and reading for exams, so I needed the privacy. My mom backed me up on this, thankfully. He also tried to establish meal times. We hadn't had any rules about when to be at the dinner table for years, as my mom didn't work regular hours, and me and my sister had lots of hobbies and friends. My mom would cook a few days' worth of food a couple of times a week, and we all just ate dinner when we were hungry, and if it happened to be at the same time, great. The new guy was not having it, and kept saying that if he cooked dinner, we needed to be home by X o'clock to eat it. We told him we didn't need him to cook dinner, and being home by X was not always even possible. He called us ungrateful and stopped cooking altogether. We had a dog at the time, and so did he. He worked 12-hour days and sort of just said, "You'll walk him, right?" My sister refused point blank, as both dogs were rather active and strong. I didn't have the heart, so I agreed, more for the dog's sake than his, and wondered what would happen when I did eventually move to America. Mind you, he'd never walk our dog if he took his dog for a walk, but assumed when we walked ours that we'd walk his too. My mom didn't notice this, since they often went to walk the dogs together. He also basically just assumed we'd look after his 4-year-old daughter whenever he had plans. The daughter lived with her mom most of the time. It didn't matter if we had friends over or if we had homework. If he had to be somewhere, he'd just leave the girl with us. This girl loved us, but she was entitled as hell, and she was an only child of her parents and spoiled rotten. She was cute in a way, but did I want her around when I had friends with me? No. It was kind of embarrassing, since she wasn't actually my little sister, and we never had any warning. I ended up usually just going to my friend's place, which was a shame because all my friends loved my dog. I may have been able to just suffer through all of this, as I figured we were just trying to find a way to be this new sort of family, and we just had to get to know each other a little better. I also knew I was leaving soon, and that my sister was better at holding her own than me, even though I did feel bad to leave her behind if the situation didn't turn better. Then finally there was the event that broke the camel's back. It was Friday, and me and my sister were leaving to spend the weekend with our dad. The new guy asked when we'd be back, and we just said, "Sometime Sunday." He got this confused look on his face and said, "Not tomorrow?" We were like, "No. We always come back on Sunday, so we can have one full day with him." We were confused because by this point, he had lived with us for a couple of months, and we had spent almost every weekend with Dad. Okay, what time? After dinner, like always, around 6 or 7, since we have school on Monday. "No, you have to come back earlier." "Why?" "It's not fair that you don't spend any time with us during the weekend when we have time off." My sister and I had these identical what the F looks on our faces. Since when did this guy want to spend excess time with us? Also, we had known him for maybe 4 months. What right did he have to claim the time we had reserved for our dad? "We were home last weekend and you went to the hockey game," my sister then said. "Why didn't you spend time with us then if it's so important?" "Now, you're just being disrespectful. Your dad is a piece of S who left your mom high and dry. He does not deserve you to visit him." Even my mom was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's enough," and my sister started crying. She was way too young to remember anything that happened when Dad left, and she only remembered him being a good dad. "Don't you defend him." The the guy yelled at Mom, who said, "I'm not, but he's their dad, and whatever problems we have or had do not involve them. They are allowed to see him, and he's allowed to see them. He was not the best partner, but he is a good dad." And then she told us to go and she'd handle it. He moved out a week later, and my mom acknowledged that the relationship had went from dating to serious too fast. Most likely because she was happy to finally find a decent guy who was okay that she already had children. Turned out that he had invited some friends over that weekend and basically wanted to introduce us as his new happy family, as he was the only one of his friends who didn't have a nuclear family. My mom blew up on him because "my daughters are not your props," and kicked him out. Good thing he had never officially signed any papers that declared him as a tenant. I realized that he was not ever my actual stepdad, but I sort of feel like this story still fit in this group, as he did try to establish himself as one. Next up, shooting insulin is rude, so just die, by reference 404. My ex's mom told me a story that left me pretty horrified. At her. Anyway, apparently one of her ex-coworkers had diabetes and required regular insulin doses administered via syringe, etc. One random day, coworker dude forgot to take his dose before lunch and only remembered midway through eating with the team or something. I will never forget the way my former mother-in-law told me, with her face twisting in disdain, her opinion on the matter. Rude and disgusting. How could he do such a thing in public? I mean, I guess he was supposed to die, so she'd be comfortable? Thanks for listening. Remember to like this video and subscribe on YouTube and to our podcast. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.